We have some real world routes in place. In this video, you're going to learn how to link between the pages. Right now, the only way you can actually switch pages is by manually changing the URL. And when we do that, we go through the full page refresh. So if I'm on does not exist and I go to the root of the application, you can see we are going through that full page refresh. We are communicating with the server. And the whole point of client-side routing is to avoid that. We want to be able to switch pages without going through the full page refresh. And in this one, we're going to learn how we can set up links in our application to get that done. So let's look at the 404 component. Right here, we have a 404 message. And if we're on a page that doesn't exist, it's probably a good idea to link to a page that does exist. So we'll say 404, and then we'll provide a link to go to the home page, which we know always is going to exist. So right here, we might use tools we already know about, like an anchor tag. I set up my anchor tag. I give the link some sort of text value. Go home, and I set up where I want to go using the href attribute. I set it equal to / and the end result is that on all 404 pages, I'm going to get a link back to the home page. So if I go back over to does not exist, we can see we get our message and we get our link. Now, when I click the link, we are still going to go through that full page refresh. You can see the loading bar popped up. The browser is still communicating with the server in order to get the HTML page back, but it doesn't need to. We have all of that accessible via client-side JavaScript. What we need to do is add an event listener for our links. Then we're going to override the browser's default behavior. We're going to say, hey, don't actually change pages. We got it from here. Just pretend the link was never clicked. We're going to use JavaScript code to actually change the page. Now, the good news is that we don't have to do any of that. React Router gives us the components to get that done. It gives us components to create links that use client-side routing, and we can view those over in the documentation. So we're at the docs, and if we scroll down to the API section, we have link right here, and we have nav link. We're going to be exploring both of these, and I want to start off with link because nav link is just a more complex version of link. So we'll start here, and then we'll look at the more complex version. So we're going to go ahead and import link and take a look at exactly what it does. Up at the top of our app.js file, I'm going to import it. It's just another named export from React Router DOM, uppercase L link. And we can create an instance of link wherever we want to put a link that uses client-side routing. So right here, for example, we can remove our regular anchor tag, which is going to cause the full page refresh, and we can set up an instance of link instead. I'm going to open it and close it. And link does expect something to be typed inside. This is the link text. In our case, we're going to use the exact same text value. Go home. Now, we also need to provide where the link should go to, and this is done via the to attribute, and we just set it equal to /. So it's very similar to href. We just provide the path where the link should go to. The nice thing is that behind the scenes, we're using client-side routing as opposed to server-side routing. So if we go back to a 404 page, like not real, we get our link. And if we click the link, we notice that we do not go through the full page refresh. Instead, JavaScript just swaps things out on the fly. It makes a new call to React DOM.render. It renders right here the expense dashboard component as opposed to the not found page component. All of that is done by simply adding link and linking to the route we want to go to. So we're going to be using link inside of our application anytime we're changing pages that we control. If you're linking outside of your app, if you're linking to a Google search result, or you're linking to an affiliate website or some other external URL, it's perfectly fine to use a regular anchor tag because you're not going to get the advantages of client-side routing anyways. But when we're linking internally in our application, we want to make sure to use a link as opposed to the anchor tag in order to take advantage of client-side routing. To continue exploring how we can link in our application, let's go ahead and create a new component right here, a const called header. And we're going to set it equal to an arrow function that implicitly returns some JSX, and we will use the header element, opening and closing it. This is built right into HTML. This is not some sort of React component. Notice the lowercase h. And in here, we're just going to start off with what we might have in a header. Let's say we have an h1, the title of our application. I'll make the title of this app Expensify. So the goal is to render header not on any individual page, but on every single page, including the not found page. So how are we going to get that done? Well, we could actually just dump an instance of it right here before switch. That would cause it to show up on every single page. Now remember, browser router needs a single root element. So what are we going to do? We're just going to make an empty div. We're going to put an instance of header inside of there. And then we're going to take our switch, all that code, and we're just going to put it right alongside of header. Now we are still conforming to the API while adding a header into our application. So we see Expensify here. We're going to see Expensify on every other page, including ones that don't exist, like does not exist. If I switch back over to that page, I still get my 404 message and my link, but you'll notice the header is also there. So by adding this, we have a header on every single page. And now it's going to be your job to create a few new instances of link. Right here, I want you to add some new links. You're going to add a link that goes to the home page. Link to home page. You are going to link to the create expense page. You are also going to link to the edit page. And finally, you're going to be linking to the help page. Now you can use any text value you want for the actual link text, but you do need to use the correct paths. Those are explicitly defined right here. So you're going to create 4 instances of link, providing the text and the toProp for each. Now, once you're done, you just want to save app.js and test your work. Try clicking all 4 links and make sure they get you to the right place, just like this link got us over to the home page. So take as much time as you need to set up the 4 links, test your work, and when you're done, click play. All right, all we need to do is use link a few times, and I'm going to kick things off by creating a new link, and this one will be for the home page. Now, you could have used any text value you like. I'm just going to have the text value of dashboard. And we do need to provide where the link should go to, so I will set to equal to /. Excellent. Now we can go ahead and do this again down below. I'm going to create an instance of link. We are going to set the text value over to create expense. And we will set the toProp equal to the correct path. In our case, that would be /create. And you could probably guess what's going to happen for the next 2. It's the exact same process. We give ourselves a text value, edit expense, we provide 2, and then we move on. So for this one, we are heading over to the edit page. That is /edit, and just one more left. Down below, the last one is the help page. We'll set the text equal to help, and we will link to the URL, /help. And there we have it. That is all you needed to do for the challenge. The last thing you had to do was test your work. So I'm going to go ahead and save app.js, and we can see right here, we are getting our navigation. We have the dashboard page, which I'm currently on. I can switch over to the create expense page, the edit expense page, and the help page. And you can see that the text switches for all of them. We're able to navigate between our pages without going through the full page refresh, which keep things real snappy, and that also prevents any sort of jarring DOM manipulation where the whole DOM goes white and then it gets brought back, or it takes a few seconds for the server to respond and we're just sitting here waiting for the changes. With client-side routing, everything is instant, and that's a great way to structure our React applications. Now, the link component is just one way we can navigate between pages. We also have the navlink component, which I mentioned when we explored it in the documentation. And navlink is better suited for situations like navigation, where we have multiple links side by side, and we want to call out a specific link when we're on that page. So if I'm on the create expense page, I want to add a custom style to that. For example, making it red like what I see here, making it really obvious which page I'm on. As I switch pages, I want to switch this link to being styled in some sort of custom way. This is a pattern you see in pretty much any navigation that exists, and we're going to go ahead and set it up with React Router by using the new component navlink. Navlink is basically identical to link with just a couple of extra props that we can take advantage of, and we're going to go ahead and mess around with those. The first thing we have to do though is import it. So up at the very top of the file, I'm going to tack on another named export right here, navlink. And we're going to go ahead and create a few instances of it down below. We're actually going to switch every single instance of link over to navlink. So let's go ahead and get that done. I'm going to switch the opening and closing tag for all 4. And we're not going to be switching over something like this. This is still going to stay as a regular link. If I'm already on the home page, I don't want to style this in any custom way. We're really only going to use navlink inside of our main navigation. So if we save the file as we currently have it, the application is still going to render and it looks exactly the same. We can still switch pages. There is still no special effect for the active page. If I crack open the console, we can see we're also not getting any errors. This is a perfectly valid way to use navlink. We're just not taking advantage of the cool stuff it has to offer. So let's go ahead and actually add that on. Right here, the one prop that we're going to be using is active class name. Active class name with a capital N is going to allow us to provide a class. This class is only going to get applied to the link when we're on that page. So that's going to allow us to target the currently active link. For the moment, let's just use isActive. And we're going to take this definition and use it down below too. So I'm going to copy the prop and the value. I will paste it for create expense. I'll paste it for edit expense and for the help page. Now we have a complete navigation. And if we actually target isActive via our styles, we're going to be able to customize the link. To do that, we're just going to add a single style. And for the moment, we're just going to toss it inside of the base partial. Right here, we'll just target isActive. We're just going to write a single selector, so I'm going to avoid breaking things out into multiple files. We'll focus on that later when we actually style the entire Expensify app. For now, I just want to set the font weight for the active link to bold, calling it out as something special. I'm going to save the base partial and we can actually close that down. And what do we get over in the browser? We are on the Create Expense page and the Create Expense link is bold. If I switch over to the edit page, we get edit expense in bold. And if I switch over to the help page, we get the help link in bold. Now you'll notice that for all of these pages, dashboard is also in bold. And that's because the links use the exact same matching that our routes use. So remember, with our route we had to use exact in order to say, hey, only show this when the page exactly is this one. But the same thing is true with our nav links. So there's actually a way to get this done. If we check out the props for nav link right here, we have exact, and this works exactly like exact does for the route definition. Now, there are rumors that in future versions of React Router, exact is going to change. The developers have pretty much agreed that having to use exact like this is annoying. It should default to true, and you should be able to set it to false when you want to. Currently, though, that's not the case, so we're just going to stick with the current API we have. When React Router updates, I'll add a new section onto the end of the course that talks about the changes necessary to migrate over to that version. But for now, we're going to stick with what we have, which is the ability to use exact on that nav link. So let's go ahead and do just that over here. On the nav link for the root page, we're going to set exact equal to the Boolean true. We are going to save app.js, and now the navigation is going to work as expected. We're only going to have a single nav item with the bold font, including the dashboard page when we are actually on that page. If we're not on that page, it's going to go away. If we're on a 404 page, we're actually going to see that none of them are bold because we are on none of these pages. As we do click one though, the application updates and we get back to the working navigation. So there we have it. By using nav link and link, we're able to take advantage of client-side routing. These two components allow React Router to hijack the browser's default behavior, and React Router just runs through our routes again, checking to see if the new URL has different matching routes. Then it just re-renders the application on the fly without going through the full page refresh. So let's take just 5 seconds to recap. In this video, we learned that when we're linking inside of our application, we should either use link or nav link. We're going to be using link almost everywhere except for our navigation, where we want to take the advantage of being able to call out specific links. So nav link is great for that. We can make links bold when we are on those pages, creating a better user experience. So that is it for this one. We now know how to navigate between those links. We're going to continue diving into React Router in the next video, so stay tuned. I'll see you then.